Hi, and welcome to Community Forum. I'm Kellie Carrara, your host for the show today, and I've stepped outside of the TV studio and into the home of my guest, Reggie Macon. Reggie is a northern-born and bred writer living in Lynn, Mass., but he has a Southern soul and a passion for Southern cooking instilled in him by his Alabama-born mother, Miss Thelma. Throughout the years, Thelma passed down her recipes to Reggie and his sister so that they would never forget where the family came from. Recently, Reggie has been sharing some of his favorite family recipes on Spoon, a food blog owned by the Quayside Publishing Group that celebrates food and culture one spoonful at a time. After a Southern-based series was featured on Spoon, his mother's fried chicken recipe was picked up and is currently featured on the mobile app Home Gourmet magazine. In addition to Reggie's homespun stories and articles, he writes, he also is reliving treasured memories of time spent in the kitchen with his mother and aunts, both at his boyhood home in Connecticut and at his grandparents' sharecropping farm in rural Alabama. These are more than just recipes. These are family traditions. And today, Reggie's going to take us back in time by preparing an old-fashioned Southern Sunday dinner. He's even let me bring one of my grandmother's recipes into the fold. I'm so excited to get into the kitchen with Reggie and start cooking. I hope you'll join us.
Kellie, welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's so fun to be in your house.
Welcome to my humble abode in Lynn. Can you believe it?
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. And it smells incredible.
Well, I had to start cooking the chicken. It's the golden brown my mother made, was famous for. I had to start cooking it early because it takes 2.5 hours. And I knew that you guys were coming, so I was just like, let me get it done, and it's almost ready, so we can almost take it out. But it's a simple recipe. It's just a roaster. I think it was 8 pounds, so it cooked a little longer. It took like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Okay.
But usually I do a 5-pound roaster, and I put the cavity. I clean it out because you got to clean your chicken before you do anything.
Sure.
And then you put in celery in the cavity as well as onion, a bouillon cube, and then season it with onion powder, pepper, salt, and what I do, I flip it over, and then I use my hands and rub in virgin olive oil, so that gives it that goldeny brown.
Oh, okay.
Look,
this is how it gets its name.
Yes,
golden
that's
brown.
how you get it. And then you flip it back over, oil that up, the right side of the chicken, and then you salt and pepper it a little bit more, and a little bit of onion powder, and then you put it in the oven. And then it tastes fantastic.
And you massage all those flavors in.
Massage it all the way in. And sometimes what I'll do, I'll season it the night before so that they really soak in. And that's my recommendation, because then you get such a great flavor.
It's almost like marinade.
It's almost like a marinade.
Okay.
So actually, it's almost done.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's done.
Okay, let's take it out.
You ready?
I'm ready. Ooh,
You ready
it smells
for
so good.
Thelma's golden brown?
No, you're fixing a true Sunday Southern dinner for us today, but
yes.
I can't wait to
Hold
just
on.
kick it off and taste this. All right.
It's really hot, so be careful. And you see Moses wants some.
Oh, Moses wants a bite. We have a little assistant in the kitchen today.
It's my corgi.
Moses the corgi. Okay.
Is that good?
It is so
I
good.
told you. It's such a simple recipe, but I was just amazed that my mother would all the time have it golden brown. It would be so juicy and succulent, and you'd just be like, how'd you do that?
That's what it is. It's moist.
It's moist. It's totally moist.
Now, talk to me a little bit about
You
your...
just put that right.
Okay. Your mother, because she made all these great recipes that you're taking us through today, she and your aunt. And this is Miss Thelma. We have her
That
here.
is Miss Thelma.
She's with us in the kitchen today.
She is. I'm sure she's smiling down.
Now, she grew up in Alabama.
Yes.
And a lot of these recipes are hers from home.
Correct.
And probably, are they your grandparents' recipes?
They're actually started with probably my great-grandmother, and then my grandmother passed it down to my mother and her two sisters. And what's funny is because we had a farm in Alabama. And it's funny, my sister and I would go down there and work the farm. I think we did it 3 summers. It almost killed me.
You are not a farmer.
No, I'm a city boy. I'm from Connecticut.
Yes.
You know, but she gave us that Southern genteelness, and she taught us how to cook Southern. And it's like everywhere I go, if I cook something, people are like, "Oh my God, how'd you get that flavor?" I'm like, "Well, I'm really kind of a Southern boy via Connecticut."
You're a Northern boy with a Southern soul.
There you go.
Is the way I tell people
There you
about you.
go.
But the thing with Southern recipes is they're pretty simple.
They're super simple.
I mean, when you were explaining the golden brown, I mean, it tastes amazing, but there wasn't a whole lot to it. It's not a lot of gourmet.
It's not a lot of prep. You just sort of. My mother had a saying. She's like, just throw a little something in there and make it work. And that's what you do pretty much when you cook Southern style. You sort of just throw things together. I mean, you go follow a recipe, but she always experimented, and that was her thing. It's like, you know, try that. Put it in there and see what it tastes like. Sometimes she's like, ooh, child, please. But then other times she would be like, now that's good. And then we would love it, you know, so.
And I think from her era, and probably even her parents' era, in Depression times, I mean, you had to work with what you had.
They had a working farm. And so when we went down there with my sister and I, we would slop pigs and feed chickens and clean the chicken coop. Oh, God.
As much as I love the chicken,
Exactly.
I don't think I'd like cleaning up after the chicken.
But that's what we did, you know, and everything on the farm was used. Everything. I mean, I was a little kid, and when I would go down there, you know, you get attached because it's animals. I've always been an animals person. I mean, we have a corgi, you know. And then, before you know, it's like, I'll never forget, this is one of my favorite stories. I said to my grandmother, I was maybe 8, and I said, she's like, what do you want for dinner? And I was like, chicken! Not thinking she's gonna kill a chicken right in front. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, you want a chicken? I'm like, but it comes in the package, you know, the package that you unwrap. And she's like, no, honey.
So she went out back and got the chicken.
She went out back, got the chicken, wrung its neck, and that was that. And I know that sounds like gory, but actually the chicken was really fresh because it's raised on a farm, and it was always good. So that's the way we grew up. We grew up in Connecticut, but we really got the appreciation of farm working because it's hard work, but you know that they worked hard to get what they needed.
Absolutely.
So that's all I mean.
And that was probably her way of thanking you for your chores and a job done on the farm each day. You look forward to coming home and to have this.
Hey, stop it.
He's ready to eat.
He wants to talk too.
So you come in from the work in the farm, and there was your reward.
There was my reward. It was so fun. Sometimes we would be outside, and you can smell my grandmother and my aunt and my mother cooking, and you're like, oh, Lord, have mercy, you know? And she would be like...
That motivate you to work faster.
Exactly. And it's like work. And my grandmother believed in, when the sun came up, you worked. When the sun went down is when you stopped. And I remember one time my sister decided to revolt and said, I'm not working. And my grandma was like, well, I guess you won't eat today.
Exactly. You know? So there's the reward again. Motivating you to work the farm.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, we've got the golden brown cooling right now.
Yes.
But what happens when you have a large roaster chicken? You always have leftovers.
I always make chicken salad, or Moses always begs me for half of it.
Well, let me tell you what I do with it.
Okay. That's it.
I make some chicken and dumplings.
Oh, I love chicken and dumplings.
Now, I also grew up in the South, in Alabama. I didn't grow up in Connecticut, but I come from Alabama.
That's why we get along.
That is right. We have that Southern spirit, you and I. So I brought my great-grandmother's recipe for chicken and dumplings.
Excellent.
So, you know, you've had your roaster, you've had your beautiful golden brown, and once you pick that chicken clean and you have some extra, I just throw it in a pot of boiling chicken broth, Or you could even do this with turkey. My grandmother always did this around Thanksgiving time. So we had
Cool.
the turkey broth,
Right.
and she just picked that turkey breast, or you know the rest of the turkey,
Mhm.
put that in the broth, and then make the simplest dumpling recipe that I'm going to share with you.
And there's nothing like chicken dumplings, I'm telling you.
No.
My cousin makes it. I can't make it very well. She actually lives in New York, and she's just like, I told her she has to send me a recipe so I can write about it on Spoon. Because I'm like, I need to share that with people.
I would share
Oh,
my recipe
let's
with
share
you.
yours, that's right.
All right, so we've got a pot right here of boiling chicken broth, and so I'm going to turn it up just a little bit while I come over here and make these dumplings.
Okay.
So
You know what? I'm going to put the chicken in the oven just to keep
keep it warm, yes, because we're going to have a full-on dinner pretty soon.
Oh, it's so hot.
All right, well, my dumplings are real simple, like I
Okay.
said. It's just 2 eggs, some chicken broth or some turkey broth, whatever you're mixing it with, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a little bit of salt, and then flour to thicken it up. And it's real simple. You just take that bowl over and drop it in, spoonful by spoonful, and there are your dumplings.
Simple and easy, my
And
God.
then I've taken the liberty of making some chicken up ahead of time, and
Excellent.
then this is just some, some chicken that you've saved from
From
your
your
bowl.
golden brown, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we'll throw that in on top.
Okay.
But real easy. 2 eggs.
Do you need something to beat them?
I believe I've got a whisk right
Oh.
here. So
Do you
a
need a
whisk
little-
or a
Oh, okay.
fork.
Excellent.
And I brought my grandmother along with me today.
Aw.
So she's
Hi, Grandma.
So this is Grandma Heathcote, and here she is with my mother, who looks to be about 2, and my aunt Donetta, and my grandfather right
Your grandmother looks like Lucille Ball.
Oh, she does with that hairstyle.
Is she a redhead?
Um,
Was she a redhead?
Yes, she was. A
See?
little bit of that.
She actually
and
looks
then-
like Lucille Ball.
Oh, that's funny. She'll love to hear that.
Well, while you're working on that, I'm actually going to be working on mac and cheese. The
Oh.
oh my God mac and cheese.
Okay.
I wrote about that for Query Spoon,
Yes.
and it's been fantastic. I think we're up to almost 5,000 hits.
So this has gone viral.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Now, I made this OMG 3 cheese mac and cheese last week. I was going to a dinner party and I wanted to try out one of Reggie's recipes, so he'd sent this ahead of time to me. And this is unlike any mac and cheese I've ever had. My mother used to make a macaroni and cheese with breadcrumbs on top, and it was more of an Italian style macaroni
Right,
and cheese.
right.
This is a true creamy Southern style mac and cheese, and it is heavy.
It's heavy. It's very dense. One thing that's really good about it, I know that we were talking about it when she was making the mac and cheese. She sort of called me and said, "Now, I could eat right out of the pot, and this tastes fantastic." I was like, "You can," and that is more gooey. It's a much more gooey,
It's creamy,
creamy
yes.
cheese. But it actually turns out when you put it in the oven, it turns into more like a mac and cheese casserole. So you have 2 ways of actually serving this if you want to. You can do the gooey part, or you can do.
Well, you can either eat with a spoon or a fork.
There you go.
You're going to eat
There you
that
go.
creamy mac and cheese with a spoon, definitely. That
There you
is
go.
rip off your spoon good.
Yeah.
Or it is more of a fork into, and more, it gets a crispy top.
Exactly.
But you're going to take us through that. And I'm going to help you chop in just a second.
Oh,
after I
okay,
get
no
these
problem.
dumplings done.
So the ingredients that you need: elbow macaroni.
Mm-hmm.
You need 2 sticks of butter. My aunt actually put in 3 sticks of butter.
2 sticks of butter. Oh my God. It's not a heart attack in the pan,
It's
is it?
totally a heart attack. You need Monterey Jack cheese. I think you need about a cup. A little sugar, sea salt, 2 cans of carnation milk.
Now, I think that's what does it, is the evaporated milk, because it's a little thicker and it's a little
Exactly.
sweeter.
Exactly.
And I love
And-
that sweetness it comes through.
And it makes it really moist and rich. It really does. And then 2 eggs, 8-ounce block of cheddar cheese, and 17 slices of American cheese.
Somebody's got that in their fridge.
Everyone,
It's just
everyone.
It's a craft single.
Exactly.
The single slice.
I
of
took
cheese.
them out of the wrappers to make it easier.
Definitely. That's your time spent right there.
So what you do is simply, you take your American cheese and you just cut it into little cubes. Just rip it up. And you just continue through until you go through the 16 pieces. And then you cut off little, I'll say 1/2-inch cubes of the cheddar cheese.
Mhm.
And then you put the Monterey Jack cheese, you just siphon off about a cup of it.
Mhm.
So that's where you start, and so that's going to take me a while because I wasn't prepared for this part.
That's all right. That's all right because I'm getting my dumplings, and my dumplings are almost ready.
Excellent.
And I'll put those in to boil, and you know they take just a minute.
Oh, awesome! That's really good.
So you know what? It's these simple ingredients, whether it's the macaroni and cheese that you've got your eggs and your butter and your cheese,
Right.
or your dumplings that you're using your leftover batter or your leftover chicken for,
Right.
and you've got all your broth and everything ready to go. Now, it's a little messy here, but
Okay.
my dumpling batter, it's sticky.
Do you want me to move over so you need to?
We can swap places.
Okay.
My dumpling batter's a little sticky here, but I'm just gonna drop it by the tablespoonful into the boiling
The boiling water.
boiling broth.
Excellent.
No, definitely
Oh, I'm
broth.
sorry,
Give it a
broth.
little more flavor.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a little salt and pepper in there, flavor it up, and then when we're done, I'll add the chicken on top, and we'll have a pot of chicken and dumplings.
That
Okay.
is what I'm saying.
All right.
Now I'm gonna move over here. I'm continuing to do this. Continue to shred the American cheese.
Okay, and I'm gonna chop up that cheese for you.
Okay, that
as soon
sounds
as I
good.
drop
That sounds.
these in.
And on top of that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make Southern style sweet potatoes. Now that's my mother's recipe. It's like candy. It's so good. It's brown sugar, 6 sweet potatoes, a little cinnamon, and a little vanilla, and some butter. And it's perfect.
Oh, it sounds.
And it's like the sweetest little side dish that it's literally almost like candy.
Sweetest little side dish. I've seen the pot that these sweet potatoes make. It's a big old side.
And that's on Query Spoon. Anyone that want to take a look, you can go on QuerySpoon.com, and all my recipes are there. I'm going to be doing a recipe for cornbread, sweet cornbread. It's skillet sweet cornbread.
It's in the cast iron
It's a
skillet
cast iron
that
skillet,
every mother and grandmother and every
Exactly.
bride-to-be gives in Alabama.
Exactly.
It is a Southern
Exactly.
kitchen staple,
Exactly.
for sure.
And then probably within a couple of weeks, I'm going to do collard greens.
Are you really gonna bring the greens up
I'm going
north?
to bring the
Now,
greens up north.
what about okra?
You
Okra
know-
is something I absolutely loved when I lived in Alabama, and fried okra. And the only place you can even get something of a resemblance of okra up here is the Cracker Barrel. And I love the Cracker Barrel,
But it's not the same.
right, and it is not on every menu like it
Exactly.
was down south.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a side.
I remember going down to the Cracker Barrel in the South is a lot different than the Cracker Barrel in the North. I mean, we used to go and have cheese eggs and grits and all.
Oh, and the grits. And you did a
I
recipe
did-
of grits
I
on
did cheese
on
grits.
Spoon,
I
too.
sure did. It's my mother's recipe, and I sort of fixed it up a little bit. But my mother was kind of
Fancy grits?
It wasn't fancy, but she would just put them in a microwave and say, "Here's your cheese grits," and it tastes almost just as good.
Well, it's amazing when you go to a grocery store in the South. There are lots of grits everywhere on the
Everywhere.
shelves
Yeah,
of
you
the
can't find
grocery
this too much
store.
up here.
Oh, can't find it. I'm gonna get a little salt and pepper.
All right.
Excuse me here. And you know what? I'm gonna add my chicken in, and we're almost done over here with the dumplings.
Oh wow, you're beating me.
Oh
You're
no,
beating me.
these are quick and easy. You know what? And especially like the kids loved it. So when I was a child and my grandmother was cooking these, this is something we look forward to the next day.
Right.
You know, after that turkey was made.
Yeah. That's always good. I mean, Southern cooking is like my mother used to say. Southern cooking is not difficult. It just takes a little salt. Just takes a little, put a little extra something in it. you know?
But I think it's love. You know, and that's
It
what
really
you
is love.
talk about, and that is what comes through in your writing
Thank
and
you.
your recipes on Spoon.
Well, like I really did it because my mother passed in 2008. And she actually died of complications from lupus. And, you know, I was just hurt because she was really my best friend. She really was. And my sister and I were kind of lost a little bit. It was so funny. We were in our 40s and we felt like orphans, you know? You really do.
No matter how old you are, when they go,
Oh my God.
you are. But you're left with these wonderful
You
treasured memories.
I'm left with these memories, and anytime I want to, I can come to my kitchen and cook whatever she cooked for me. And it just brings me back to when I was a kid, and she's cooking it around the kitchen. I'm like, Mommy, let me taste some. You know?
And she's right here.
There she is.
And-
It's Miss Thelma.
And that's one of those things you said you had gone into the kitchen and you asked her.
I
that
did.
you would like to learn how to cook, and that was one of her proudest moments.
It was one of her proudest moments, especially when it came to her fried chicken, because everyone in my neighborhood loved my mother's fried chicken. Now, it was like, I had friends come over to the house, and the first thing they would ask me, did your mother make fried chicken? And I'm like, well, no. Well, when's she gonna make it? Because it will come back.
They didn't want to come over on
They
an
didn't come to see
ordinary
me.
night. Yeah,
They
yeah.
came to get some fried
Miss
chicken.
Thelma's fried chicken. Isn't that the way? Doesn't it attract everybody?
It does, it really
And now,
does.
does she have a secret to the fried chicken?
One thing that she did, because I know a lot of people use buttermilk. My mother never used buttermilk. Excuse me. One thing she would do, she pretty much created the batter, and it was funny because we use adobe seasoning, which is a Spanish seasoning. And then she would use salt and pepper and flour. And what she did, she would clean the chicken, put it in that mix, let it sit overnight, and let the juices let the seasonings really get into the skin of the chicken.
That seems to be her secret, is
That was
letting things sit and kind of
Exactly.
taking her time
Exactly.
and being patient. That's another thing in the South.
You're
Slow and slow and be patient and
Exactly.
give it time.
Exactly.
And it'll be well worth the wait.
When my grandmother used to come and visit us up in Connecticut, one of the first things she would say to us is, why is everybody in such a hurry?
Isn't that the truth? I mean, when I moved up here, people talk fast, people
Yes.
move fast,
Yes.
it's just fast paced.
It's true.
And it is not. I mean, we go on Sunday Southern drives. Now, Reg, I want you to take a look at these dumplings. What do you think? See, they just pop up like
Oh,
that, and
they
they're
do. Look at
fluffy.
that.
They're a little heavy because they have
They're
a lot of
dense.
flour.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
dense. But I'm
It
just
looks like matzo balls almost.
It does.
My partner's Jewish.
Oh, okay. So you're familiar with that?
Exactly.
Well, we'll have him give this a taste test. And we'll let him
When he comes
sit.
back, because he went out for
All
a
right,
little bit.
so I'm gonna put the cover on these and just
Okay.
let these stay warm and move this back, okay?
Okay, that sounds fantastic.
There we go.
So here's your cup of Monterey Jack cheese. Kelly's cutting up the cheddar cheese. I've already cut up the American cheese. So we're almost ready. We're gonna have to bring 8 cups of water to a boil. And then we can put in the elbow macaroni.
Okay.
I'm sorry to turn my back to you, but that's the only way you can cook in a galley kitchen. Sorry.
You know what, I'm going to go ahead and whip these eggs for you.
Oh, that's
Get
excellent.
a fork out here. I love cooking in somebody else's kitchen too.
It's funny because I never have anyone, I never cook with anyone else usually.
Well, I'm honored to be here and get to cook all our favorites because
That's
these,
right.
you know, these are recipes I grew up on too.
And even Moses is here with his little toy because, you know,
Oh, he is not getting 2 feet from us. He is ready to eat.
he really is. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more, 8. There you go.
Okay, so we'll get that on to boil.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because you can't really put the elbow macaroni in until it comes to the boil. And I put a little bit of virgin olive oil so that the elbows won't stick together.
or you could do salt with that too, right?
Yeah, I put a little salt in the water also.
But if you're trying to cut down, the olive oil is always better for you.
It's
I
true,
understand
it's
that.
true. And my aunt, she was like, just throw a little salt in that water. So I'm doing that now.
All right. Now you recently went back home to Connecticut to cook this with your
I
with
did,
your aunt, right?
I did.
Just so you could get the full
I
experience
could
and
the
get a little
full-
refresher.
Exactly, and to gossip. Because
Oh.
that's one thing in the South, and you know this. When people cook, they tend to gossip.
Where do you go for the stories? You go to the beauty salon or you go to the kitchen? And that is where it
Exactly.
happens.
And I'm a guy, but sometimes I heard these stories that my aunt and my mother would tell, and I'm like, who are these people? And they're like, child, let me tell you. And I'm like, okay.
And they were running down the neighborhood and back and forth through the
Exactly.
family.
And my mother's from Gainesville, Alabama.
Now that's a little rural town on
It's
the
a-
Mississippi border, right?
It's very small. No, it's actually central.
Oh, is it central?
It's central
Okay.
Alabama.
Okay.
It's, I think the population maybe 3,000 or 4,000. I think that's, today it's maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
Everybody knew everybody.
Everyone knew, and we were all related. Every time I went out to the store, if we went out with my grandmother, she'd be like, well, this is your cousin, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Well, you know, our cousin works at the cashier. I'm like, well, how are they related? Well, let me tell you.
And you go back home to the kitchen
Exactly.
and you get the story.
Exactly. So that's how it works.
Is Macon a common name in Gainesville?
No, I don't think so. It wasn't a lot of us.
But it was your mother's side, right?
It's actually my mother's side, yes.
Yeah.
My great, let me see, how did it go? I'm trying to remember this. My mother's father was an Adams, and he actually was born into slavery.
Is that right? In Alabama?
In Alabama. He was born in 1853 and lived to 1957. He was over 100 years old.
Oh, wow, and
He was born a slave,
wow.
which is really interesting because when my mother talks about him, she's like, the one thing that Grandpa loved, he loved his unions. He wore his unions, which are long johns.
Uh-huh.
Year round. It could be 3,000 degrees and he wore his unions.
And you know it does get that hot.
And she said that my personality is very much similar to his. So it's really interesting how that just works, you know. So, and another thing that we can work on, because we have the mac and cheese and we have to wait till this comes to a boil.
Sure.
And that might take a while. I'm working on the sweet potato.
Okay.
So
I don't know much about a sweet potato because my grandmother always made these, but we were out of the kitchen when they came. But what's the difference between a sweet potato and a yam?
that's a good question. Sweet potatoes to me are sweeter.
Okay.
That's the only explanation I know. Because they're very similar.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they look just alike.
They do.
They really do. But I think a sweet potato does have a little more sweetness to it because yams are a little bitter.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I was ever taught. So.
And when we have them up here, my in-laws are from Vermont, and they always have them at Thanksgiving time. But that's the only time you get
Really?
something like this, is a sweet potato
Right,
casserole
right.
or something.
Well, I mean, in my family, my mother made sweet potatoes all the time, especially when she made a golden brown.
Mm-hmm.
She always made sweet
That was the perfect side, huh?
perfect side for, especially when you have kids.
Uh-huh.
Kids will love it because it's super sweet.
Mhm.
And they're like, ooh, mommy. this is
But a
like
sweet potato is good for you too.
And it's fantastic
And
for you.
now that's kind of what everybody's replacing. I see sweet potato fries on the menus everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, you're getting a hamburger, but you're getting sweet potato
Exactly,
fries to go with it. And I love them
exactly.
because they are sweeter,
Exactly.
but they're a little more healthy, you know, without all that starch.
Right. So what you do is you clean off your sweet potato, just a little water and rub it under.
And you gotta peel that baby.
You gotta peel it. Sorry, Kelly, for reaching over. You gotta peel it. So you just take your regular peeler and take off all the skin. Oops.
Beautiful though.
Look at that.
Color.
Look at that color. We were thinking of painting one of our rooms that color.
Oh, it's kind of like this too. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
look
shade
at
off a
that.
pumpkin.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. We're designing and cooking at the same time.
What? Why not?
That's awesome. So you just peel it really quickly. And this is a simple recipe. There's nothing to it. Anyone can do it, and you will really enjoy it.
Now, what we're cooking is in a casserole dish. It's the sweet potato casserole. But I hear a lot of times of a sweet potato pie. Now, I've never had that. Can you tell me a little bit of that?
That's funny because I don't know that recipe offhand. I have to go down to Connecticut and learn it from my aunt, which I'm going down in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And that's going to be a blog post.
Okay.
Because that was the other
So
thing.
there's a difference between a sweet potato casserole
And a sweet potato pie, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Nice flavor, but there's a difference. There definitely is. So you take your potato and you slice it longways. I already have peeled one, and actually it's almost prepared over there.
Yeah,
but
we have some
we have some already there.
We have to get some
You
ready.
slice it the long way. And since I have a really good knife,
Yes.
it's so easy. Oh, look at that.
Those knives were awesome when I was over here slicing and dicing.
There
I
you go.
love those knives.
You just slice through it. Simple and easy. Well, that one's a little tough. I gotta be careful not to cut my hand off here. There you go. No, not today. It's funny, when I made fried chicken with my friend that sort of convinced me to do the spoon blog.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit. How did
Okay.
you get involved with this, the blog?
It's so funny because my friend, Katie Flock, hi Katie, she was a coworker of mine. She was the other copywriter at my current company.
Okay.
And then she went off and went to Keyside Publishing. She got another job there, and she's the marketing director. And she had been bugging me to write a blog. She's like, you need to write a blog about your experiences as a, someone that had a southern mother, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, 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 nah. And finally, maybe I'll bring this pot over here. Finally, she convinced me to do it. And it was kind of lethargic because I got to talk about my mother, I got to talk about my family.
Not lethargic, it was cathartic.
And cathartic, thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you very much. I'm too busy cutting
We're
up
going
the
to be lethargic after this meal.
After this meal, yes we will. And so you cut them up, and you just fill up a pot like that. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this one. I can make
It
this
doesn't
one.
look like you need that
Yes.
one. So are you filling it up with water, or how are you going to soften this?
You know how it's softened? The sugar brings out the natural water of the sweet potato.
Oh.
You put nothing in the pot except the sugar, brown sugar, a little vanilla,
Yep.
a little cinnamon, and some butter.
Okay. Of course, butter. Gotta have butter.
Well, you know, you're outside. I mean, Paula Dean had it right.
When in doubt, just add butter.
Add some
That's
butter.
right.
So-
Butter equals love.
So literally, what I do is, how's that boil?
It's coming, and I'm almost ready to put the macaroni in.
Okay. Literally, you take your sugar and you just pour it on top.
Oh my
And
goodness.
just fill
So
it.
this is not an exact science.
This is not exact science. I mean, I put instructions on how to do it, but in the South, you just say,
Can I eyeball it?
yeah, just eyeball it. So you just pour it on top and let it get into little crevices. Let it get in there.
All right, we're at a rolling boil now,
All
as my
right.
grandmother always said. Get it to
Put
a
that
rolling
little
boil.
macaroni in there.
And I will do a spoon and stir that up.
Okay.
I don't want that sticking to the bottom here.
We're making a mess.
That's
I'm
what
gonna
it's all
clean it a
about.
little
I
bit.
mean, good food equals a messy kitchen,
It
right?
does. It surely does.
All right, we'll get these babies boiling and we'll be in business very
All right, so you put the sugar, then you're going to put a little brown sugar. And I think I had said on the blog, like a half a cup of brown sugar. I just kind of spoon it on there because the brown sugar really brings out the flavor.
Oh, sure. And that almost caramelizes it, doesn't
And
it?
it caramelizes.
Right. With your
And
butter-
that's
your-
why it tastes like candy.
Your butter and your brown
Yeah,
sugar,
it's
because
true.
that is caramel, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that how
it's
you make caramel? You
it.
just melt your butter
Yeah.
and you put your brown sugar
Yeah,
in there?
that's it.
We do that at Christmas time.
Do you really?
And put that in a Teflon pan, and then it just comes up and it's just
I'll use this.
wonderful. Go right ahead. That was flour.
Okay, good. I'm going to dip that in there.
So you started writing about the home life.
I
And
did.
you went back in time to your boyhood days.
It was
of-
so fun to just realize and remember my family. I mean, since my mother's been gone, it's a little difficult. I mean, things strain out, especially when you get older.
And
My mother was
especially
like the
holidays,
glue.
too. Yeah.
She was
Oh,
the glue
sure.
of the family. She was the matriarch. And so you put a little of that, a little bit of cinnamon. I'm not measuring, I'm just putting. Just a little, sprinkle around. And you're gonna say to yourself, how is he gonna cook? It cooks down to nothing, and it really is awesome.
So we're not going to have a problem on the stove. We're not going to have a big mess over
No,
there. with
no,
loves
it
spillage.
cooks down.
Okay.
And then a little bit of vanilla. And what I usually do, if you can, cover it.
There's no way of covering that. There's no way to contain those sweet potatoes.
And then you put it on medium.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it will slowly
It slowly cooks down.
cook down.
It does. Now it takes about, let's say about an hour
Okay, to cook down.
to cook down to
And-
make it really caramelized.
And then do you put it in a casserole dish and bake it? Is that how you
Nope.
do this? No?
No, you
Okay.
just leave it like that because it caramelizes naturally. You don't bake it anymore. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I remember my grandmother always baking it, and she baked
Oh,
it
really?
in a pie plate. But I think she boiled those sweet potatoes. I'll have to
Really?
ask. But
That's interesting.
yeah,
See, every family has something
it has a
different.
little bit different.
You
Yeah.
know? I'm gonna just clean this
Oh,
up.
let's
a
clean
little.
up.
Yeah.
We've got a messy kitchen.
We got a messy kitchen here. This isn't like a cooking show. You can't bring the other ingredients in. Hi, it's done.
That's right. We're cooking for real
We're cooking
here.
for real. So how's that elbow?
I think we're doing good.
Put that
You know, the
back.
only way to test it is to taste it. So.
Yeah. Just make sure it's a little soft. That's all you're really doing. Make
Little
sure-
al dente,
Yeah,
as
that's
they would
it.
say up here.
That's right. folks. Keep telling them I'm back to you, but we got to do what we got to do. That's doing good. So what about your family? Did you guys have any special recipes or?
Well, the chicken and dumplings was always a favorite, but another Southern recipe that I just absolutely love is biscuits and gravy.
Ooh.
And that was one of those things that was always, you know, on the holiday brunch menu.
Right.
And my grandmother would make, she would either make the biscuits or you can use store-bought biscuits.
Right.
Because secret's in the gravy.
Right.
And I like a hot Jimmy Dean sausage.
Oh, nice.
A sweet Jimmy Dean, like the maple sausage, because
Right.
you've got a little bit of a sweetness in there.
Right.
And we, you know, and again, real simple. It's just ground up sausage, and you save that sausage grease and oil that comes off the sausage.
Isn't it funny how in the South you save grease?
You save grease. My mother always had a little thing of
My
bacon
mother
grease.
always,
Bacon.
always.
Yep. You need a little
Little
flavor in your
Crisco.
you need a little flavor in your green beans. You get in that cabinet and get out your bacon grease.
That's it.
Because it was right there.
That's funny. That's a Southern thing.
That absolutely is. But you know, biscuits and gravy is nothing more than the sausage grease, milk, and a little bit of
Canned
flour.
milk, or is it just regular milk?
You can use just regular. I like a whole milk.
Okay.
Definitely not a skim milk.
Okay. No.
We're going fat and we're going to go whole hog. So, you know, you do a whole milk
Okay.
and salt and pepper. And you just stir that up and kind of make a roux. And then
wow.
keep going on and put that all over your biscuits. I tell you what, that is amazing.
That sounds really, really good.
Those are one of my favorites.
So when are you going to invite me over?
Oh, we're going to have a sleepover. I get up and make you brunch.
We can make cheese grits in the morning and cheese eggs.
Oh, I love cheese eggs too.
So good. So I think this is done.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to put this in here. So you drain off the water, not all of it, because you want a little bit of the moisture. So you drain off the water a little bit. Look at that. A little bit more. I'm trying not to pour it out into the colander because it.
Yeah, because you want a little bit. Because as I was cooking this the other night, I was worried that it was all going to stick to the
together.
bottom.
Exactly.
Right, and so I'm adding this cheese in. But it wasn't until I added the evaporated milk
That
in
you realize.
that it really started creaming
And
up.
I don't know if you guys can see that. So it's a little bit of water. You put it back on, you put it on a low heat. That's what I would do. And then what you do is you start adding all the ingredients.
Any
So,
special order?
you know, my aunt just sort of threw it all together. So I'm going to say, a query spoon, because I don't remember exactly how I wrote it. Follow that recipe and I think you'll be safe. But for us,
We're just going to throw it all in. So that's the cheddar.
That's the cheddar cheese, the American cheese.
Those were our cut up
American.
singles.
Yep, 17 slices, 16, 17 slices. And it boils right down and it becomes really cheesy.
Oh, it is so creamy.
And Kelly was like, ooh, this is good.
It's amazing. And these 2 sticks of softened butter, so they're gonna just cream right in there too.
Right. First I'm gonna add the Monterey Jack cheese, a cup. So it's really cheesy. It's a real cheese.
Now, if you wanted to add a little kick to this is just real creamy cheesy, so I think kids would love this too. But if you wanted to add a kick, I suppose you could put pepper jack cheese in there,
Yeah.
or maybe
Why
like
not?
a little jalapeno cheese.
As long
or
as,
something
like,
that.
my aunt said to me, she said, make sure you have 2 orange cheeses and 1 white cheese.
Oh, okay.
Just to offset the color.
Oh, the colors.
That's what she pretty much said to me. And I was like, okay. But any white cheese you want to add, I think it would work fine. So.
I don't think I'd use a goat cheese in this, but
Yeah.
but to give it a kick,
Right.
you know, that pepper jack. And one thing I noticed, you didn't put salt and pepper in this recipe.
No, I just put salt in the water. That's
Uh-huh.
it. That's pretty much it. You don't
And I
put a
think
lot.
that's what makes it so just absolutely creamy
Cheesy
and,
yeah.
and it's got that rich texture.
It
This
does.
is definitely a rich dish.
So as you add your ingredients, you make sure you keep stirring so that everything melts together. I just added my can of milk, and then I'll add most of that can of milk.
Okay, are you ready for the butter?
Not yet.
Okay, butter last, and we still have our eggs to put in there.
Yes,
So
we do.
most of this can?
Yeah. Let's hold on until
Okay.
the cheese melts
Okay.
a little bit. It looks a little gooey mess, but it turns out so good.
Oh, just perfect. We're all gonna have to take your word on this.
Yes, it is. Well, you it? They did really
Oh,
like
they
it?
loved it, yeah.
Oh,
Because, I mean, that's just not something you make and bring to a dinner party.
No.
Up here,
Right.
I mean, macaroni and cheese is a typical side. I mean, it's a vegetable in the South. When they ask you what vegetables you want your
Mac and
greens, you
cheese.
want your mac and cheese,
And some buttermilk
and
biscuits.
or cornbread.
Exactly. And cornbread, like I said, I'm going to have a recipe in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm going to post it to Query Spoon. If anyone wants to check it out, check it out.
And all you have to do on QuerySpoon.com is, if his recipes don't come right up, there's a search engine on the site itself.
Right.
And you can just type in Southern recipes, and Reggie's recipes will come right up.
Come
Because
right
it
up.
was a Southern series that he's put together, and he's continually adding to.
Right, right.
And
I
with
will
each
keep-
recipe, you get a little story, and you get a little insight into the Macon family, and and
How special we are.
you get these stories of his aunts, of
My
his
grandmother,
grandparents. Yeah.
my sister, you know, my aunt and my mother were very close. We were very close-knit family. And like I said, when my mother passed, it was a little offsetting, but we still talk every day. I call my aunt and it's like, hey, how do I make this? So that's just part of life, you know.
And they had these wonderful Southern names, like Thelma, who we refer to as Miss
Miss
Thelma.
Thelma.
Everybody in the South has a Miss put in front
Exactly,
of their name, or
it's
a
true.
Mister put in front of their
And
name.
that was
So
just respect.
it was.
It was just respect.
It was, and you know, up here we might say the Mrs. with the last name or something, but it was always taught as a young age, Miss and the first name.
Yep, I'm gonna put the eggs in there.
Okay, very good. And we've got your Aunt Lucille,
My Aunt Lucille.
lovingly referred to as Seal. When I
Seal.
first met Reggie, I was like, now who's this Aunt Seal? Aunt Lucille. And we hear a lot about Aunt
Aunt
Seal
Lucille, yes.
in these stories.
Yes, Seal is awesome. She is like the grand dame now. She's the grand dame of the family. And then I have my aunt Dot, that's on my father's side, and she actually lives across the street. We kind of lived all close together, which was funny. We created our own little Kennedy compound.
Oh, your own little compound right there. Well, you know, everybody had to keep an eye on each other's children.
Exactly.
Because you kind of grew up with your cousins, right?
Exactly. My cousin Malcolm, my cousin Stacy, we were like brother and sister. And we still are. I mean, my cousin Stacy lives in New York. She works for a publishing company. And she's doing well, but I hear from her, actually, I just worked on a project with her.
Oh, really?
Yes. She's like, help me out, write this press
So
release
you
for me.
guys are still tight?
Yeah. So that's just the way it is. So this is almost ready to go into the casserole bowl. And then you have
Well,
to.
what are we doing with this butter
Oh,
here?
we gotta put the butter. I'm gonna stick out the butter.
Oh, you forgot the main ingredient to any Southern dish.
Throw that
Is
in
our
there.
butter here.
There's your butter.
And now, do you use like an unsalted butter? Is there any special
I use
butter?
non-salted.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
Because I just figured the salt's just gonna add a little too much. So.
You gotta cut something out.
No,
Reggie.
just-
We're not cutting out butter. We're just
Isn't
cutting
that-
out salt.
Isn't that cheesy
Oh
and
my goodness.
creamy? Look at that.
And I think once that butter melts, it gets even a little thicker.
It does.
So that's when I was spooning it out the other night, and I called Reggie on the phone, and the OMG really does live
It
up
is
to its name.
OMG.
I was like, oh, I had to catch myself from falling. I can't believe I made this alone in the house, because I nearly fainted when I had my first
She
spoonful.
called me and she's just like, I've never tasted anything like this in my life.
Yeah, unbelievable. So definitely, if you try anything, this is
it.
This is the one. to
Like I
try.
said, it's doing very well. I actually did a little self-marketing. So, you know, I was searching some sites and I found, there you go, just turn it down.
Oh, okay.
I found a site called Best Southern Recipes. And I posted the mac and cheese to their Facebook account, and they featured it, and then all of a sudden it exploded. And I was like, oh my God.
Well-
And my friend Katie, she was just like, what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, all of a sudden Query Spoon just got like 200 hits. You know, she's like, oh my God, that blog post is up to like 1,500. Now it's up to almost like 5,000.
And I think that's what happens, you know, I see it a lot of times when I'm on Facebook connecting with my friends. Recipes are a huge part of Facebook.
They are.
And once somebody
They
puts that
are.
on there, and cleaning ideas. I see a lot of
It's
cleaning
very
ideas,
true.
but a
It's
lot
very
of
true.
recipes, because people are always looking for good, tried and true recipes. And something like this, a family recipe, it's one of the best things. I was up in Vermont, my husband's family's from Vermont, like I said.
Okay.
And I was up at an antique store,
Mhm.
and I happened across a recipe box, and I opened it up in the store. It hadn't been cleaned out. It had just come from an estate sale, an auction.
Oh, wow, that's,
And
what a
it had
fun.
all these recipes, handwritten,
Oh,
and they're all
wow.
yellowed on, some of them are torn pieces of notebook paper, and
Wow.
some were on index cards, but this was somebody's family recipe box, and it was treasured.
Now that's a treasure.
It
That
really
is
was,
a
and
treasure.
I started going through it, and all the stuff that my grandmother made.
Exactly.
And that's one of those things that you mystify.
It's true. It's true. Like, one of my cousins like, why are you giving away all the family recipes to everybody? I'm like, that's a great way to bring families together.
It is.
That was one of the reasons why I did it, because I remember my childhood memories of watching my mother cook and helping her as much as I could, and it just brings a warm feeling to my heart. And so, if I can spread that to someone else, why not?
That's
You know?
awesome. And it's a part of yourself. I remember going home for all these holidays, whether it was Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter, and you count on we count on the chicken and dumplings. My grandmother made a macaroni and cheese, and you always remember those. And I had 6 other cousins, and I had brother and 5 other cousins, so there were 7 of us all together in
Right.
my mother's side of the family.
Really? Is that many? Wow,
And
really?
we would fight over the edges of the macaroni and cheese can. The
Exactly,
edges
the
that
edges.
now my grandmother, she wouldn't mix the cheese in, she mixed a little bit, but she
Right.
put it all on top. And she
So I'm gonna
laid
just
that
put this
cheese
in
on top.
here.
Ooh, here we go.
Ooh, it's making a little splash, but.
Okay, now mine was not that creamy.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I drained too much of my water off.
Yeah, I like it really creamy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it's splashing.
That's all right, that's why I wore my apron.
I wore my pink coat, my pink shirt. Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but there you go.
There we
you
go.
And you just put it in there, and that's when it becomes, once you put it in the oven, you bake
Oh, it's
it.
still bubbling. Look at
Yep.
that, it's still boiling.
You put the oven to 350, I guess I should have done that first. And it cooks, and it becomes a casserole. It really does, but it becomes like this incredible casserole.
Now, one thing you had done on the recipe on the blog, it has a little bit of sugar in it. And that's one thing we didn't do.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I didn't do,
I
I forgot what I did too. But you know what I did? I put a little bit on top.
Maybe I'll do
And
that now.
that gives it almost, it kind of gives it a little sweet crust.
Really?
That is how my grandmother made cornbread.
I'm gonna put a little in there now.
When we were done with our cornbread, and I mean, you can make a Jiffy box cornbread, or make it with a cornmeal.
Sometimes
or
a
something
Jiffy
like
box is perfect.
that. You know what? It's quick and it's easy.
It's
an
easy.
egg. It's a quarter cup of milk,
It's true.
and you're done.
It's true. I put a
but
little sugar in there right
But I
now.
always put sugar on top, and it gives it a little brown
Right,
crust to it, and
right.
it's sweet when you bite into it. So
Right.
whether you're having your cornbread with a meal like this, or your cornbread with your chili, or you're just making corn muffins, I mean, that's how I like it, and that's another thing. That
These
my
are cooking
family-
down slowly, but
Okay.
they're starting to cook down a little bit. It looks like that could be next.
It does. I see that brown sugar melting.
Let's see that brown sugar melting on top there?
Mhm.
And it starts to caramelize, and you hear how it's bubbling
Oh, I
on
hear
it?
it popping, yeah.
So it just brings out the natural water in the sweet potatoes. It's awesome. It's the most incredible thing, because I remember when my mother taught me, I was like, don't you need to put something in there with it to moisten it? She's like, nope, just let it cook down. And I was like, okay.
And I think that's probably what a lot of people do, is they boil those sweet potatoes or
Right.
those yams up
Right,
there.
right.
And sometimes you're boiling out the nutrients
The
in them.
nutrients and the flavor.
Sure.
Sometimes you're boiling out the flavor.
Sure.
There we go. So, we gotta wait till that hits 350.
All right, well, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and get in the kitchen, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. The International Forum Show, very similar to Community Forum, but we talk to local people that are out across the world doing their thing by Skype, is on Sundays at 2, Mondays at 11, Wednesdays at 9, and Saturdays at noon on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. The crew and host and guest would also like to thank Maxie's Delicatessen for the wonderful food they provide us with before the show. They're located at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. Phone number 781-341-1662. The American Cancer Society is always looking for volunteers to help drive cancer patients to and from treatments and appointments. If you can help, call 1-800-ACS-6662 or visit them online at www.cancer.org. Isla Mark's Food Pantry and St. Anthony's Free Market at the First United Methodist Church can always use help, whether they're unloading trucks or stocking shelves or simply working the food pantry. For more information, call Christine Gallagher at 781-341-0611 or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels, a great organization helping people that can't get out with fresh, hot meals, could use drivers. Please call and ask for Jessica if you can help. 781-344-8882, extension 2. And we'd also like to thank the Stoughton Penny Saver for all our advertising needs. They're helping us get the word out on Community Forum. They're located at 27 Rose Glen Street here in Stoughton. Phone number 781-344-4833. Our Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Mondays at 8 p.m., Tuesdays at 5 p.m. on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 8. We love hearing from you, so if you could give us comments and suggestions, go to communityforum1@yahoo.com and send us an email. What Southern Sunday dinner wouldn't be complete without dessert? Reggie has made his mother's famous pistachio swirl nut cake, and it looks fabulous. It takes a long time to make, so he's taking it out of the refrigerator right now. Let's bring out the grand finale.
There you go.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now tell us a little bit about this cake.
Okay, so it's pistachio swirl nut cake, like you said. It is just a yellow cake box mix, pistachio pudding, sour cream, walnuts, and cream cheese frosting.
It's the cream cheese frosting that's going to make it, I know.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Now, how do you get the cinnamon swirl inside?
What you do is and you can go to queerspoon.com because you can see it, the step-by-step how I did it. But what you do is you layer a bundt cake, you put half of the batter in, add the spread of chopped up pecans, sugar, and cinnamon. And you just put that on top, and then you use the rest of the batter and layer that on top.
Okay, so
and that makes the swirl. Yeah.
Okay.
So should we cut into it?
We should cut into it. But the cream cheese frosting, and then you can decorate it a lot of different ways. You've decorated it with crushed pistachio nuts before.
I put crushed pistachios around it, or this time I used pecans, and we just crushed them and put it around and put some pecans on top. I thought it looked much more professional.
And in the South, pecans
are
staple.
awesome, yes. It's a simple recipe, it really isn't difficult, but it does take 2 days because you have to really let the cake cool before you put on the cheese cream frosting, and anyone knows if you put it on hot, it's just gonna melt right off.
Yes.
So let's cut into it.
All right.
Let's see how it looks. Look at that. You want a pistachio on top?
Oh, or pecan on top. I'll take a pecan on top. Look at that.
Let's see if I can get in there. I might have to hold it.
That's all right.
Look at that.
Oh, fabulous.
Look at that.
And that pistachio pudding gives it that little bit of a green
The
tint.
tint, yes. Yeah. So the texture's awesome. Let's get a fork.
We're going to eat right here. We're going to have a backwards dinner.
Yes, we are.
All right.
Let's now. I'm going to take a little piece.
Oh, I thought you were eating that.
No, I'm going to take a little piece.
Okay.
And let's see how it turned out. I'm curious to see what you think.
Now, do you keep it in the refrigerator overnight
I
as well?
keep it in the refrigerator overnight, and then you frost it the next day.
Oh, it's so yummy.
Oh my God, that is good. It's so sweet and so delicious. It would make you smack your mouth almost.
Yeah. My father used to say the same thing. So good, it'd make you want to stand up and slap your mouth.
No, that's a Southern thing.
Oh, and with that cinnamon and those pecans inside.
Is it perfect? It's perfect.
It's wonderful. But I like it cold too with that cream cheese frosting.
Yeah, it makes the cream cheese frosting, it really adheres to the cake. Isn't that good?
So good.
Sorry to be in front of you. Wish you had something.
I'll have to make this one too, in addition to my macaroni and cheese.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Reggie. This has been a pleasure. Now we're going to take everything out of the oven and we're going to go sit and have our good old-fashioned Southern Sunday dinner.
We are.
Thanks.
So we're almost done with the sweet potatoes. You pretty much sort of mix them around a little bit, but they become caramelized. And that's why it has such a great sweet taste. And actually, I think I'm gonna plate these. So there you go, a little sweet potato. And the macaroni and cheese is out, and that looks fantastic. So there's the sweet potatoes. I'm gonna turn this off. Take a little bit of mac and cheese. Now it's super hot right now, but you see what I'm saying, that it's a casserole, but it's so cheesy and so delicious, you will love it. And then you carve off a piece of your chicken, and there you go. There's your dinner. You will love it. You really will. Kelly's at the table right now. And there you go. Your southern dish. Are you ready?
All right, we have a beautiful Sunday dinner to sit down to.
And Moses is trying to join us.
Yeah, the dog smells it too.
Let's try it out. Mmm, good chicken and dumplings. Mmm, very good. What do you think about the golden brown?
The golden brown is perfect. I had that, but these sweet potatoes are
I told
like
you.
candy.
They're like tender.
They're so perfect though, and you put that all together with, I like a little bite of everything on my fork. So this is perfect.
Sorry to be eating in front of you, but it's too good.
I hope it tempts you to make all these fabulous
Please
recipes.
make them. And visit QuerySpoon.com and check out Reggie's Southern Cooking. And you'll love it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's
No
been a
problem.
pleasure.
I
Thanks for
love
welcoming us into your home and letting us cook in your kitchen and sharing these fabulous recipes with you. And thank you, Miss Thelma.
Thank you, Mommy.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.